Senator Roberts.
Thank you, President. As a servant to the many different people who make up our One Queensland community, I thank Senator Bragg very much for his hard work trying to introduce accountability to Australia's corporate watchdog, the Australian Securities and Investments Commission. I've watched his diligence, his patience, his commitment and his determination, and I admire and acknowledge all of those. Last October, the Senate referred an inquiry to the Economics References Committee into the capacity and capability of the Australian Securities and Investments Commission, ASIC. In particular, to answer the question, did ASIC meet the expectations of government, business and the community with respect to regulatory action and enforcement? Simple question. This inquiry was prompted by complaints from everyday Australians and small business that ASIC was not doing its job. ASIC's job is to ensure a level playing field and, where a company has engaged in corrupt conduct, ensure prosecutions occur. The evidence received has indicated that there are broad community concerns and systemic issues with ASIC's investigation and enforcement capabilities. That mirrors what I have perceived. The committee has sought information surrounding a small number of closed investigations in order to understand how ASIC conducts investigations and understand its prosecution approach. The closed cases concern Nuix, ALS, Super Insider Trading and Magnus, where there were serious allegations of commercial misconduct. Unfortunately, ASIC has shown contempt for the committee process, making public interest immunity claims to get out of handing over this information. ASIC were given one last chance to comply with this order, and here we are now. ASIC has again refused to cooperate with the Senate. This should not be the end of the matter. The Constitution gives the Senate extreme powers of investigation and penalty on individuals for refusing to follow the instruction of the Senate. The Constitution, I say it again, gives the Senate extreme powers of investigation and penalty on individuals for refusing to follow the instruction of the Senate. That reflects the Constitution's intent in making sure that the Senate serves the people. I remind everyone that is the case. So these powers should be considered in this case. To say that ASIC has been dragged kicking and screaming into this inquiry is an understatement. Freedom of information documents obtained by Adams Economics reveal ASIC were in contact with unknown persons within the parliament to secure a watering down of the terms of reference or to deny the numbers entirely, to squash the inquiry. This is why we are here. How dare ASIC interfere to avoid review by the House of Review on behalf of the people of Australia? One Nation rejected ASIC's public interest immunity claims over materials concerning closed investigations into misconduct. ASIC's reliance on public interest immunity claims to block disclosure has been an ongoing issue, obstructing the committee's ability to conduct a proper investigation. On behalf of the people of Australia, this is not the Senate, this is on behalf of the people of Australia, the people who pay ASIC's salaries, the people to whom ASIC is supposed to serve. Public interest immunity is being used by a government that has nothing but contempt for openness and transparency. Only today I discovered, by chance, that the industry groups the government is showing their new IR bill to are being required to sign a confidentiality agreement so that they couldn't say what was in the bill. That shows contempt from this government for the people of this country. What sort of nefarious provisions are in that bill requiring a cloak of secrecy? Every government is elected with a promise of transparency, and every government then breaks that promise. The Albanese government is, however, setting a world's record for how fast they broke their promise and setting a world's record for arrogance towards the people of Australia. This request from the Senate goes to a small number of closed cases. They cannot possibly affect an ongoing investigation. There's no downside to revealing this information other than embarrassment or worse for ASIC management and the responsible minister. I have received a report from a third party regarding ASIC senior executives using private phones for official business and look forward to further information around that issue. If a Commonwealth Government agency spends $200,000 of taxpayers' money on a secret investigation into allegation against ASIC's deputy chair, the Senate has a right and a duty to ask what that was about. It's our role as a Senate to do that, and we would be deficient in our duties to the people of Australia if we did not do so. This matter places the career interests of bureaucrats against the sworn duties of a senator and of the whole Senate. One nation is betting on the Senate ultimately discharging its duties without fear or favour. ASIC has refused to disclose its correspondence in relation to public interest immunity claims with the minister. The committee has formed a view that ASIC's refusal to provide the information sought is obstructing the committee's ability to conduct this inquiry. That, by the way, is an offence. ASIC appear to be all lawyers. Let me say, you should know better, ASIC. So I've got some notes in front of me that I'll just divert to briefly. We are inquiring through the committee into the ability and indirectly the intent behind ASIC's behaviours. The intent. The government is digging a deeper hole when it comes to the intent, because as Senator Brockman and Senator Bragg have pointed out in detail, the government is covering up, and that makes it even worse. If it was innocent, the government should welcome the disclosure. If it had something to hide or something to protect in ASIC, then it would shut down, and that's what we see. And I'll go to the terms of reference, whether ASIC is meeting the expectations of government, business and the community with respect to regulatory action and enforcement, and it's not meeting the expectations of Parliament. ASIC's persistent failure to enforce the law and investigate complaints of misconduct. Small business, consumers across Australia who are tired of ASIC's persistent failure to enforce the law and investigate complaints of misconduct. They're the customers we serve. They're the customers ASIC serves. The evidence received so far has indicated that there are broad community concerns and systemic issues with ASIC's investigation and enforcement capabilities. And my personal concerns are similar. The committee has sought information surrounding a small number of closed investigations. I've listed them, as has Senator Bragg, as has Senator Brockman. The government has a choice. Release the documents and remove suspicions if you have nothing to hide, or if you have something to hide, hide and stoke the suspicions. A private briefing is not adequate because that would be just ASIC giving selective disclosure. The executive government should support an inquiry to end white-collar crime in Australia and strengthen inquiry in our financial sector. Instead, the Labor government has defended ASIC at the expense of the work of the Senate, arrogantly keeping people in the dark. And I ask the question, is ASIC protecting criminals, or is it protecting its own incompetence or its own lack of intent to hold criminals accountable? Who watches over the regulator? We do, the Senate, and the people watch over us. I call on the minister to stop obstructing the Senate, and I call on ASIC to rethink their obstruction to this inquiry. Thank you.